Happy New Year from the Reserve Bank of Australia. The RBA suits today delivered another blow, a ninth straight interest rate rise. For families, it means more mortgage stress.
It's hit us pretty hard, to be honest.
With every rate hike comes a sleepless night.
I don't remember when I slept 3 hours in a row. Every night, every morning, it's not easy.
Ankit Jindal is drowning in mortgage debt. With the ninth interest rate increase in a row, the father of two says he now regrets the day he bought his family home.
Had we known that the mortgages will go up that much, we wouldn't have bought this house. Unfortunately, we thought we were doing the right thing for our kids, for our family.
He took out a huge loan for this Taylors Hill property in Melbourne's Outer West in May last year. In that time, his monthly repayments have increased by 30%.
We weren't expecting mortgages to go up that high.
Ankit's options have become limited. He says he either finds a second job or cuts his wife's maternity leave short.
It's not the best outcome, but we have to go through that. Lawn mowing or something like that I can have some extra bit on the weekend, but that means time away from the family.
Ankit's life now a merry-go-round of what to give up and go without.
Cutting back on subscriptions. Watermelon is a luxury these days. It's costing $3 a kilo. I switched my electricity or gas this morning because the gas rates have gone up.
Today, the Reserve Bank of Australia raised the cash rate again by 25 basis points to 3.35%. That means Ankit will now fork out $5,250 a month on mortgage repayments, money he's struggling to find.
Don't know where I'll find that, but I'll soon figure it out because the next installment goes out around the 17th of February. It's not easy, filling up a tank of petrol or buying groceries.
And if it's not going on a mortgage, it's going to rent. Some Australians are up against not just a cost of living crisis, but far beyond that, a cost of surviving crisis.
The people who are already doing it tough are now doing it even tougher.
Well, what does this place mean to you guys?
It's just a helping hand.
For renters Peter and Belinda Willoughby, the time has come to accept help from charity.
I guess coming from me, I've always tried to fend for myself. Okay, if I have to miss out, I miss out. But knowing that these people are out there that want to help you and they don't make you feel useless.
Instead, they pack your grocery bags.
Our coleslaw.
Yeah, we're good.
On special today.
The couple say they can't make ends meet if they shop at a supermarket, so they come here, where the food's free thanks to their local emergency relief centre.
Hi guys.
Hey, Shona.
Hey, here you go.
All right.
Families can walk away with $200 worth of groceries they otherwise wouldn't have had.
How's things going?
Good.
Good.
A little bit tough at the moment.
It is a bit tough, isn't it? Even though you're working, it's still really hard.
I've had to go and get a second job, so just to try.
Just to make ends meet.
Volunteer Charlene Crowe says their small operation in Melbourne's southeast has seen an increase in demand, with 40 additional families signing up this year.
A lot of them are embarrassed. Yeah, that's quite, I'm getting emotional. It's quite sad that people are having to strive like this.
Once we pay rent and then do the food shopping, there's nothing left. There's just nothing. We struggle for another fortnight.
The Willoughbys are forced to budget right down to every single meal.
When we go to the freezer or the fridge, we can just go, that's what we're having for dinner tonight.
And if
we'll get them out.
like a Coles or somewhere to get extra stuff for that meal. Yeah. So no wastage. No, you know exactly what you're doing with what.
The couple's desperately trying to save for when Peter has surgery and will be off work.
The bills are piling up, but the wages aren't going up. What am I supposed to do? Take on 3 jobs? Take on 4 jobs? Not see my family because I'm working all the time.
Everyone's got their own story to tell, but face the same problems. The purse strings are tighter than ever as more Aussies fall into the category called the new poor. But experts say the best thing they can do is seek out financial counselling.
If you know that something's over the horizon, seek advice early and try to find ways around that. So get advice early, start preparing for it as early as you can.
Jennifer Kirkcaldy from the Salvation Army.
We are seeing an increase in demand. We're also seeing a change in the people who are coming to us.
It is tough, and joining me now, economist Richard Dennis from the Australian Institute. Really nice to see you, Richard. You just saw there firsthand what some of these families are going through. With respect, does the RBA know what it's doing?
It knows exactly what it's doing. It knows the pain that it's causing for these people. That is the plan. By increasing the cost of interest, by reducing people's disposable incomes, the Reserve Bank has teams of economists to estimate exactly how much these people will spend less on other groceries. This is the plan.
I mean, the thing is, I'm sure they're not sitting around a table trying to ruin our lives. They must believe this is going to work. Do you think it will?
Well, they're obsessed with controlling inflation. Right? They don't want Australia to have high inflation. They'd like inflation to be 2 to 3%. And in their minds, doing this to us now, forcing this bit of medicine down our throats, will be good for us in the long run. Well, it's not very good for the families we just saw, and given that the reason prices are high is a war in the Ukraine or COVID supply chain problems in China, pulling on their interest rate lever isn't really going to lower those prices. So they know the cost, they know the pain, they think it's worth it, but they're making that decision on behalf of those families.
They think it's worth it. When does it work?
Well, it does work ultimately. If people are scrimping and saving, they buy less things, and then shops find it harder to increase the price of things.
But you're seeing who it impacts, though, aren't we? And
Absolutely.
And it's not those who are going out who can probably still afford a luxury car or fancy clothes.
That's right.
You saw David and Belinda there. They're renting. He's just taken a second job and they can't afford food.
That's right. So we know that rents are rising faster than average. We know that medicines, we know that electricity, these essentials are rising even faster than average. So yes, the Reserve Bank knows how much pain they're in, but not everyone's in the same amount of pain. And the Reserve Bank knows that. So for low income earners who have no discretionary spending, they're just spending all their money on essentials, they're experiencing higher cost of living increases than high income earners. And, you know, the group affected most is older women. Older women in retirement are seeing their cost of living rise a lot faster than I am. Their incomes are lower and their bills are rising faster than mine.
Look, you do have inflation sitting at 7-8%, so something needs to be done. You don't want to see that become entrenched. But is there anything else they can do other than just raise interest rates, and which impacts those who can least afford it?
Yes, there's lots they can do. The first thing is they don't have to increase interest rates. The law doesn't tell them they have to deliver 2 to 3% inflation. There's plenty of economists, myself included, Nobel Prize winner Joe Stiglitz was in Australia last year saying, look, these are unusual times. Just accept that inflation's a bit higher than average now. Don't panic. So the Reserve Bank doesn't have to react the way it does, but it wants to. It knows what it's doing. But then there's lots of things the government can do to control inflation. The government can directly control the price of medicine, the price of public housing, the price of public transport. There's lots of prices that the government controls. Childcare. And it's easy to lower the cost of living directly, which would lower inflation, help the low income earners more. But yeah, we're kind of obsessed with using interest rates.
But going to that point you just raised, if the government steps in too much, and you're talking about perhaps tax breaks or handouts, isn't that almost a double-edged sword, because people then spend more money and inflation rises? Possibly,
yes. But we've got $250 billion worth of tax cuts heading our way, the stage 3 tax cuts. Those tax cuts won't go to the people we just saw. They'll go to the highest income earners. We know this. Literally, people earning over $180,000 a year will get the biggest tax cuts. So we could give tax cuts to high income earners, or we could make childcare and medicine and public transport cheaper for everybody. If we do both, well, that might drive inflation. But if we're not worried about the $250 billion cost of the stage 3 tax cuts, well, surely we could afford to actually lower the prices of essentials.
I just wonder, when we look at interest rates go up, what is the cost that we're willing to accept? Is it people losing their homes? We saw there Kit, he bought just before May, so right before interest rates came in. He said he would never have bought had he known. The reason he thought interest rates were going to stay low is because the RBA governor told him they would until at least 2024.
Well, that's right. So he was misled. And the head of the RBA effectively said interest rates won't go up. So unfortunately, people took them at face value, and now on an average mortgage are paying $900 a month in extra interest. This time last year, interest rates, a lot of people had an interest rate starting with a 2. Now you've got people paying interest rates that start with a 5, even a 6. So this is a huge change, and people took the RBA governor at his word, and it's imposing enormous pain on them.
As you know, you're going to have about 800,000 people come off fixed-rate mortgages this year. ANZ's been the first one to pass on the full interest rate rise. We'll wait and see what the others do. I guess my last question is, have you got any good news for us, Richard?
Well, yes, some banks are very quick to pass on these interest rate rises. For people with $1 million in the bank, lucky them, their interest rates might go up. Look, for most people, unfortunately, no, the Reserve Bank's actually said more interest rates likely to come. But if you're earning over $180,000 a year, stage 3 tax cuts coming next year. So that's good news.
OK, good news for the rich is what you're telling me.
Good news for the rich.
Thanks for joining us, Richard. Appreciate it.